Welcome back to our channel. I'm that Auntie Mum Danielle, and today I'm going to show you how to paint a white subject using more than just white and black paint. So let's get started. Now this is something that I wish I had learned earlier, and I didn't figure this out until I was about 17 and began studying art history. It can be really useful to study a wide variety of paintings, including those outside your own style, as you can discover a lot of different techniques that you can translate into your own practice. Let's take a look at the concept of painting white subject matter. White is the lightest of all colours and is considered an achromatic colour, meaning it is a colour without a hue. So in addition to white, what other colours do we need to paint something to appear white? Well, although white has no hue of its own, white does reflect all the colours on the visible light spectrum. To see how this translates into painting, let's take a quick look at the painting Woman with a Parasol, Madame Monet and Her Son by Claude Monet. On first impression, the figure in the foreground depicts a woman in a white dress. We can clearly see the highlights from the sun and the shadows formed from the folds in the fabric. Now, if we look closer at the dress, we can see Monet has actually painted this dress using a lot of pale blue, of which is due to the reflection of the sky. There are areas of warm greens and yellows, which will be where the dress is reflecting off the flowers and grass below. The very lightest colour, which is a white with the faintest hint of blue, has been reserved for the back edge of the dress where the light source is coming from. Let's take a look at another painting, the Peppermint Bottle by Cezanne. In this painting, we can see a white cloth depicted towards the left of the still life. When we zoom in on the cloth, we again see shades of blues and greens reflecting from the tablecloth and the wall behind. The highlights have a creamy yellow tinge to them, suggesting a warm light source off to the left. Neither of these paintings are using pure white or even black or grey to depict the white subject matter, and are instead observing the subtle colour shifts and value changes to paint convincing whites. Now let's apply this to the image we'll be painting today. Today we're going to use this white cat as our reference image from pexels.com, and I will pop the link to this image in the description below. Now when we look at this cat, we can clearly see it is white, but we now need to look for the subtle hints of colour reflected in the scene around it. When I look around the edge of the cat's back, I can see the pale green tones reflected in the highlights. As this image was taken outdoors, I can also observe the cool blue tone throughout the white reflecting the sky. When we look under the cat's chin and under his belly, we can see the peachy brown tones in the shadows reflecting the brick wall beneath it. An exercise you can try is opening your image in some kind of editing software. I'm using Photoshop for example, and using the eyedropper tool to sample the areas you think have a reflection of colour. Let's try that outer edge first. And here we can see that it is green. We'll sample a section that looks like it has blue coming through, and you can just see it. If you open the colour picker, from there it will show you the colour scheme, and we can indeed see it as blue. You can even use a free program like Paint to test this out. We'll sample that edge again, and we can see it is from the green family. Now let's put this into practice. First, I'm going to quickly sketch out our cat onto a little dollar store canvas. You're welcome to simply trace the image onto your canvas or paper to practice this exercise. Today, the paint colours I will be using are titanium white, cadmium yellow, cadmium red, cerulean blue, and lamp black from the Schmincke Academy acrylic range. First, I am mixing up a few of the tones that I noted in the reference image that I can use as base tints when I mix my colours. Next, I'm going to quickly paint in the eyes of the cat so that we can move on to the white fur. Now to start, I'm laying down this kind of neutral beige colour with a cool undertone in the areas that I can see it in the reference image. I'm using this as my kind of mid-tone to use to measure my other colours against. Next, I'm adding the base in of the fawny colour that is reflecting off the bricks, and then adding in some of the blue undertones reflected from the sky. I'm then continuing to add in the subtle tones of colour that I can see within the image. When you are observing the different subtle colour changes in your image, I would say to not get too caught up in trying to match the exact colours, just paint the colours you see. They may not be the same tones I paint or the exact tones in your reference image or subject, but unlike photography, paintings aren't always about portraying what things actually look like. They can be a way of interpreting a reality. Natural light sources are never consistent, life is always moving, and reality is forever changing. So I like to say, paint what you see and show how you interpret the world. Right, back to the painting. I'm using quite thin layers when I apply the colour, so that when layered on top of each other, it still slightly shows the values beneath. When I paint, I typically lay the darker shadows down first and work my way up to the highlights. So as I build the layers up, I'm starting to introduce more white into the paint to build my way up to those highlights. When I apply the paint to the brush, you will see me dab it off on the rag before applying it to the canvas. This helps me to achieve more of a dry brush technique, which I find can be a more effective way to blend at this stage of the painting. As I come to the end of the painting, I add in some of the finer details, including refining any deep shadows and adding in the whiskers and fine hairs. And that's the painting complete. By painting this cat on a white canvas, it gives a good contrast of all the colours used to achieve the white fur against the stark white of the blank canvas. Let us know if you have any questions in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, we'd love for you to like and hit that subscribe button below.